Hello everybody, welcome to my first episode of the Phoenix Chronicles. That's kind of what I'm calling it. And today I just wanted to talk about the world that I have created for these girls and for future characters, if I so please. And I guess first I'll start with, I ended up drawing a map to kind of solidify what was going on. So basically there's this landmass right here. You can't really see it too well on the camera, but there's a landmass right here and it's split down the middle with the river. There's the South Pole, the North Pole, and then you got a bunch of islands on this side. And there's basically, how many did I make? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kingdoms. There's 2 up north, 1 down at the south, 2 over here, and then 1 big one over here. Just because they're a bunch of islands, so that kingdom just laid claim to all of that area. So, basically that's the geography, basically, of my world so far. And what else did I want to talk about? The relationship between humans and pretty much the rest of the world. So you basically got humans, witches, which fall in the line of magic folk, and mutants. And I'm calling them mutants because I have no clue what else to call them. And these are just like half-breeds, like wolf people, and then there's anything from like characters like Fee, that is a phoenix, and stuff like that. Those are all kinds of people that would be considered mutants, although there's a bunch of different creatures that they call mutants. And then there's things that are like, we know the names for, like if someone sees a griffin and they're like, oh okay, that's a mutant. So they just generalize anything that isn't human as a mutant. And it's a lot easier for witches to blend in just because they are, obviously they look just like humans. So, and speaking upon witches and humans and all that, the basic state of this world is basically very unruly, very chaotic in a sense. So basically, humans don't like magical creatures, folk, or magic of any kind. None of the kings are fairly fond of magic. They always think it's just not natural. It's not right. It shouldn't be in the world in general. And a lot of the magic folks, like people like Fee and like her mother and a few other people, are some of the first people that have magic that are actually strong enough to willingly like use it and actually defend themselves. For the most part, people that have magic can't really do anything with it because they don't know how to use it. So it kind of falls in that line. If you don't use it, you kind of lose it in a sense. Really, they have magic, it just doesn't present itself as strong or anything. They can't really do anything. So a lot of magic folk, and more or less it's the mutants, are either put into slavery. They're basically slaves or servants. Actually, you're lucky if you're considered a servant, because you're treated a lot better than an actual slave. So, if you're not either one of those, you're basically on your own, and you're lucky if you can actually sustain yourself in a community. Because the worst place to be a mutant, here I'll show you on the map, the worst place to be a mutant and live in this world is basically this section of the world right here. Just because these 2 kings they hate magic folk and mutants. It's not as bad over here, especially since Fee and their family has kind of done some stuff, which I'll get into when I get to their story. And it's not frowned upon. I mean, nothing happens in the north and the south just because it's not a very populous area. So it's just, yeah, they're mutants, but it's not that big of a deal. We have other problems we need to deal with. My camera's about to die. Let's see. And, let's go back to the map. So, you see these dotted lines, those are the basic kingdoms. This king, even though this is mapped off as his property, this is basically where the rich and royals live. Even though he owns all of this land right up here, only rich and royals live in this area, and it's the same for like this area and over here. Fee and her family live over here, on this island right here. And as you can see, in the different kingdoms, there are spots where the actual king lives, and the dots represent their tolerance of magic folk and stuff like that. So 3, I mean, they're not very tolerant at all. So these two have the same tolerance. The king up there, 1, and the kings down here are 1. Like I said, not very populous, so it doesn't really matter. And like I said, it's a little more accepting over on this side of the world just because, like I said, it all has to deal with Fee and her family. So, there's all of that. The only other big thing that I would say is the clothes. Even though that they are, I don't know. Each village has their own style as far as clothes, and even technology-wise, the world can be very different. I mean, you can be in a village that is very, like, it seems like it's in 1918 or something like that. In the next village over, that is actually more populous and has a lot more a lot more on time. They can be more modern, and they will have a little more technology, and their clothing would be more modern, like I said. And then you can go over to the next village, which will be, let's say, it's like modern at the same time, but they will like refuse to, for whatever reason, use electricity. They want to be earth conscious, and they use steam instead. So that's where you can get like a Victorian steampunk era kind of feel in a village. So it all depends on the views of the village and where they are economy-wise and technology-wise, is their clothing and stuff. Okie dokie. Sorry to cut myself off in that last part. My camera did not die, if that's what you thought. I had actually just completed the video and just felt like that was the end, and then I realized that there was a few more things that I wanted to talk about, and so I was just like, let me just cut it at the part with the clothing, and I'll just continue talking about stuff. So, I talked about the relationship between humans, magic people, and mutants. And it's not as bad now, I will say that, but it has been very, I guess, I said it was bad, but you really don't get a sense as far as, like, yeah, they're slaves, yeah, they're servants, but in some villages, like what I was talking about, where is the map? Like in this area, there has been so much violence towards magic people, like where, I mean, people have been murdered just because they're either a witch or a mutant. And I guess I can just talk about Fee's mother real quick, because it has to do, that was the next thing. I wanted to talk about Fee's village, because it's kind of an important part in the story, and I don't think it would be enough to talk in a separate video, so. But, like I said, Fee's mother was a very or I don't know if I ever have talked about Fee's mother. Fee's mother was a very powerful phoenix, more powerful than any of her daughters, or I'm not going to say she was more powerful than any past witch, but she has been one of the more powerful witches of maybe the era at this point. And there probably is powerful witches, they just decide to stay underground because they just don't feel like the world is kind of ready to be mashed up with magic people. But Fee's mother was very headstrong. She really believed that people were going to... They need to accept magic people were part of this world, and that we need to come together as a group and live amongst each other and love each other, and, you know, like that. So she never really did get to be able to do that, but she was able to establish a village on that island right there with the flame part. Once I color this, you'll be able to see that a lot better. This is the Phoenix Island. It basically, the whole island belongs to, well, I can't say it belongs to the Phoenixes, but they kind of set claim like, this is our area. If you have a problem with magic folk, or if you have a problem with the humans that support us, you better turn yourself around. So they've kind of took a hold of that area and was like, this is a safe haven for anyone who is magic or who supports magic folk and anything. So that's kind of the village and the area which the girls come from. Like, it's an island, but it's a very small village, believe it or not. Probably, I want to say 500 to 600 people, which isn't very big, by far. I mean, a lot of the kingdoms have thousands upon thousands of people that exist in them, so a couple 500 people in a village doesn't necessarily change the world. So, and something else I wanted to talk about the governments, which I'll talk about the factory real quick. This is a place that the girls refer to as the factory. It's not necessarily what it's actually called, and you'll understand more about it later. It's just a place where they basically kidnap magic folk and train them to be warriors for each of the 3 kingdoms. The island area, refer to the map. These 2 areas and this whole area right here. So there are raids that happen throughout the year, and they'll just go into a village, raid it, go like, okay, you're magic folk, you're magic folk, you're magic folk, let's go with us, and we'll do whatever we want to you. So, that is very important to the story, so I wanted to talk about that, and that is based on this island right here. And these raids are very important because, like I said, they're important to her, to not only her story, but to their mother's story too. And the last thing I'll talk about is aging. Fee and the Phoenix sisters don't age like normal people. Of course, they're magical, so they have an elongated lifespan. Humans age. I guess it's the norm for a human to live at 100, but that's at a good, that's in a good village with, you know, healthy living situations. Not all villages are good and healthy like that, so, in good and healthy living situations, the norm for a human is 100 years old. And sometimes they live longer, sometimes they don't. The norm for a phoenix is probably 400 to 500 years. So, I'll just say Phoenix's mother. When I say era, I mean era. She was pretty old. And the girls are actually not that old. I mean, Maya's probably, well, I'll talk about that in another video. But for now, that's pretty much it as far as the world is concerned. If you have any more questions or suggestions or if anything in particular that you want to say, just leave it in the comments below. I'll be sure to look at it and answer questions and do whatever I need to do. And I will see you guys next video. Bye.